History is not just a collection of dates and facts, it's a story, a grand, sweeping narrative passed down through generations. The Second World War is perhaps one of the most powerful stories we tell. We see it in films, we read it in books, we hear it from our grandparents. It's a conflict that shaped the very world we live in today, a tale of heroes and villains, great sacrifice, profound loss. But like any story told many times, some parts can change. Details might be forgotten or even simplified. What we believe might only be a shadow of the real events. So it's important to look closely at these well-known tales and ask, what really happened? Over time, simple ideas can replace complex truths. It's easier to remember a single hero than a large team. It's more dramatic to think one moment changed everything. But history is rarely so simple. The war was a global event, touching countless lives in countless ways. Every nation, every soldier, every civilian had their own story. To truly understand this immense conflict, we must look past the myths. We must discover the more complicated and often more interesting reality beneath the surface of the stories we've accepted as fact. Today, we'll gently pull back the curtain on 5 common myths. These are stories you may have heard your entire life. They've been repeated so often they feel like solid truths. We'll explore why these ideas became popular and what the actual history tells us. A popular image from the war is that of the American GI, confident and strong, arriving to save Europe. Hollywood films have certainly reinforced this powerful idea for decades. The United States' entry into the war was absolutely critical. Its industrial power was immense, providing tanks, planes, ships. The courage of American soldiers on the beaches of Normandy and across the Pacific cannot be overstated. D-Day was a turning point, a massive and heroic effort that pushed back German forces. However, to say that America won the war by itself is to ignore the immense contributions and sacrifices of its many allies. The Soviet Union played a monumental role on the Eastern Front. From 1941 to 1945, the vast majority of the German army was fighting against the Red Army. Stalingrad and Kursk were some of the largest and deadliest in human history. The Soviet Union suffered staggering losses, with estimates of over 27 million military and civilian deaths. This relentless pressure on the Eastern Front drained Germany of its soldiers and resources. Without this incredible and costly struggle, it's difficult to imagine how the Allies in the West could have succeeded. The war in Europe was won on 2 fronts, not just one. Acknowledging this shared effort gives us a truer, more complete picture of the immense struggle that was the Second World War. The story of the Enigma code is one of the most fascinating secret histories of the war. We often hear the name Alan Turing, a brilliant mathematician at Bletchley Park, credited as the sole genius who broke the unbreakable German code. His work was undeniably vital. Turing developed groundbreaking techniques and helped design the Bombay, a machine that dramatically sped up the process of deciphering Enigma messages. However, the full story of breaking the Enigma code began long before Turing even saw the machine. In the 1930s, years before the war started, Polish mathematicians achieved the impossible. Marian Rejewski-Jerzy Rosicky Henryk Zygalski, working for the Polish Cipher Bureau, they were the first to deduce the internal wiring of the military Enigma machine. Just before the invasion of Poland in 1939, the Poles made a selfless and critical decision. This act gave the codebreakers at Bletchley Park a massive head start. So, while Alan Turing was a central figure, breaking Enigma was a collaborative international effort, but a triumph of Allied cooperation and the combined effort of many brilliant and dedicated individuals. For many in the West, the story of the Second World War begins on a specific date, September 1, 1939. This was the day that Nazi Germany invaded Poland, prompting Great Britain and France to declare war on Germany 2 days later. This event certainly marked the beginning of the war in Europe. However, to say this was the absolute beginning of the Second World War is to view the conflict from a purely European perspective. For millions of people in Asia, the war had already been raging for years. On July 7, 1937, the Marco Polo Bridge incident occurred near Beijing. This clash between Japanese and Chinese troops escalated into a full-scale invasion of China by the Empire of Japan. This marked the beginning of the Second Sino-Japanese War, a conflict of immense scale and brutality that would eventually merge into the larger global war. For China, the war did not begin in 1939, it began in 1937. The conflict in Asia was devastating. Therefore, the Second World War did not have a single starting date. These were all part of a rising tide of global aggression that eventually converged into one interconnected conflict, and honors the millions who were fighting and dying long before the tanks rolled into Poland. We have journeyed through just a few of the myths that still surround the Second World War. We have seen that America did not act alone but as part of a grand alliance. We have learned that the Enigma code was broken not by one man but by an international team that began its work in Poland. And we have come to understand that the war did not begin on a single day, but ignited in different parts of the world at different times. These are not small details. They change the very shape of the story, making it richer, more complex, more human. They remind us that history is a shared story belonging to everyone who lived it. The past is not static. Our understanding of it is always evolving as new information comes to light and as we learn to listen to voices that were once silent. It is our responsibility to be curious, to ask questions, to look beyond the simple headlines of history. A myth can be comforting, but the truth, in all its complexity, is where real understanding lies. By seeking out the facts, we pay better tribute to the sacrifices of the past and learn more valuable lessons for our future. What myth surprised you the most? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this exploration valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more journeys into the past. Thank you for joining me today in this quiet reflection on the stories we tell.